There's a lot of different ways to graze animals. A lot of what you see out there is continuous graze pastures. They look like a golf course. They turn cows out, let them graze all season long. It creates a lot of compaction. It creates a lot of runoff. You get a lot of erosion on that type of grazing. So with the adaptive grazing that we talked about, is we're going to go out here and a lot of people can call it high stock density grazing. There's rotational grazing. There's all kinds of what you call it, whatever you want to call it, but it's moving animals. Okay, so with my forage finish herd, we move twice a day. During the growing season, at least in the summertime, we move twice a day, morning and night. So that we get it does a couple of things. Okay, it forces the animal to basically graze off even. They graze everything instead of being selective grazers and graze the cream. So they're no different than we are. If we have a choice of potatoes or steak, we eat steak, or ice cream instead of, you pick the best. So do the cows. So if you limit what they're going to get, they get more aggressive at eating, and they just go in and eat, because if they don't eat, their neighbor's going to eat it for them. And so that's why we move twice a day. The other thing, the huge benefit of that, which is just the opposite of continuous grazing, right? It gets no rest. If you think about it, if you put a herd of cows on an acre or 2 acres or whatever it is on your farm for a day, the rest of your farm all rested that day. So rest is the biggest piece that you don't get out of continuous grazing or rotational grazing or anything. The smaller piece of ground you're on for the shorter period of time, the rest of your farm is resting the whole time you're grazing. Over the years, we've done a lot of research, testing, just trying to learn and then share the results with everybody of what we do. So we've done a number of research projects, Practical Farmers of Iowa, USDA, County Conservation down here. Drake University has helped with some, and we've we've teamed with the Pasture Project, which is a 3-state project: Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa. That's out there. But we've done cover crop grazing, and that's all done on neighboring land. So we're trying to extend beyond our own farm and help the environment and benefit the farmer as well as get benefit from feed from his farm. Other project we've done is just grazing or planting annuals in perennial pasture. We talked about a little bit with a 15-20 different species mix there in the summertime. So we can create better feed for our livestock and get through the summer months when it's hard to feed animals. Another project we've done is bird counts. We've done bird counts on our farm, right here on our farm, and we've compared that perennial pasture, just plain perennial pasture, and we've looked at birds in perennial pastures with annuals in them. And we've also compared that to Chautauqua with this 10,000 acre wildlife area half a mile away from me. So, and those bird counts, we can talk a little bit more about that as we go down. Other things we've done is a conservation, just conservation grazing down at Chautauqua, grazing project that was put together. They wanted to, as they seeded down all this land that they bought, they did a really good job of growing grass. Big blue stem Indian grass, little blue stem grass, primarily grass pastures, and they wanted to diversify those and try to get some forbs and different species in there. So we tried to do that with animals. So that was a grazing project that we had. We've also done water testing on our farm, where we tested 2 different tiles. One that dumps on my farm from a neighbor that's all row crop corn and beans. That's the whole watershed is corn and beans, and a tile that's on my farm that grazes or that drains only perennial forage, perennial pasture. And so those are some of the things that we've done testing on, and we can furnish links to them. Hopefully we can put that in here and get the links out so everybody can go look at those individual projects that we've done. But
ultimately the quality of the water coming out of your tile.
Yeah, and now get down here to the, so we talk about improving and reducing the impact of the environment. So I'm going to elaborate on a lot of these programs that we just talked about then. So the grazing project at Chautauqua, I think they have, the year we went in there, it flooded down there on the pasture we was going to do this on. So we didn't even get to put cows in it till September. But so it affected the project greatly. But I think still in the end, we did diversify the piece of ground that we put the cows on, and there's a lot more forbs, weeds. A lot of people would call them weeds, forbs. Just specific grasses come back, but not in the density that they were before. So I think the project did work, and I think it was successful for what they wanted to do. Maybe the flood helped us do that a little bit too, but it's really turned into what I think they'd call a sedge meadow. So it's got a lot of sedges in it, which cattle eat sedges. They're a grass. They're just like that, but they get hardened off and they get sharp edges on them. So they got to be at the right stage for them to eat it, just like anything. So, but I think we, the county and me as well thought it was a successful project at the end. Anyway, Drake University and PFI. We worked together on counting birds out here, and I just, as I got into this grazing, was just looking, and I'd see birds out here that I wasn't sure what they was, and so I started looking into it, and then I'm thinking, well, why are they here? There's 10,000 acres of wildlife area down here. Why are these birds here? Why am I seeing this? So we talked to PFI, and at the same time, Drake University was wanting to do some bird counts on some different things. So we set up a project to compare perennial pasture with annuals, and prairie. And there was I don't know the exact numbers, but I do know that I think the first year that we had twice as many birds on the perennial pastures as what they seen in the, and we looked at 5 different species that were in decline in grasslands. Okay, so but there was way more species up here on the pasture, and I'm thinking this is why, when I started this project, I thought, well, I can't compete with 10,000 acres of wildlife area, but after going into it and doing it, that you got birds that like short grass, you got birds that like bare ground, you got birds that like medium grass and tall grass and all over the place. So obviously we were getting the birds that like the diversity up here because there was everything. There was stockpile grass that had been left there, for 60 days, 90 days, 100 days, and stuff that was just grazed. So they could pick and choose where they wanted to be and what they wanted to be out here. But the numbers were quite, don't know what the word is, impressive. But there was, like I said, there was twice as many birds on our pastures as they were seeing the same species down there, just because of the diversity. They were in both places, but a lot up here. So I think we still need both prairie and unrested. Maybe their diversity that they were trying to get in the other grazing project is what they need to get more birds down there. So they have the different structures and everything. But I think the animals do something for the structure of the grasses that the birds like, and so it's an interesting project that we did that's still ongoing. They did bird counts again this year. I haven't got the report, so it's been going on for like 4 years now. That they continue to go on, that we should be getting updates on, and something you can go again link to and people can go look at. Annuals and pasture, we kind of talked about water testing. So we could talk about the water testing that we did on the farm here a little bit. And we, like I said, we compared that, basically a tile that just drains row crop ground, and compared it to a tile that's on my farm that just drained on my farm. And I know one of the years that we was doing it, even on my farm, I spread manure over that area where it was on the farm, and I thought maybe that might raise the nitrates and the stuff in the water a little bit. But there was, I forget how many, there was 25 or 30 different sites that Iowa Soybean Association tested all the water, is where it got sent to. But the nitrates off of my farm didn't ever get above 1 part per million. It was the lowest of all farms in there, any tile that they did. And I don't, if I remember right, I think it was in the teens where the row crops got to. Was in 13, 14, 15 parts per million, somewhere in there, was just pretty common in what was out there. So there's definitely a difference in water quality of what's coming off of farm ground compared to. And I think, you know, they're trying to do these denitrification. What do they call them?
Bioreactors.
Bioreactors and edge of field practices and things out there off of farms. But to me, I'm glad they're trying to do something, but it's a Band-Aid. I mean, it helps that field in that particular place for a period of time. So how many millions of them do we have to put in to take care of the problem we have? I think there's got to be some other way to work on this. I don't know what it is. I don't have the answer, but I just know that perennial forages work as opposed to annual. So I think we're trying to build a sustainable operation that the next generation can come to, and we'll be proud to work. You know, it's something that's taking care of the environment, it's taking care of the animals, it's taking care of the plants, and we'll get into the people part of it here in just a little bit. But so we just want to continue proving the soil health, plant health, human health, everything for generations to come. And I don't see that insight in crop farming today. I just don't see that as being sustainable. I think we're going to farm it out here pretty soon. We're going to run out of fertilizers. We're going to run out of, well, the chemical companies will always make another chemical to sell you. But to me, the people that are getting rich is everybody selling the farmer something. It's not the farmer. And I think the other thing that we can do with an operation like this is we got a healthcare crisis in this country. And I think a big piece of this is we can fix the healthcare crisis with a perennial system, and healthy soil, healthy plants, healthy livestock. It comes down to healthy people.